think we're going to be starting in a bit. Let's see. Invite. 3 more days, just so people know. And then I can do live streaming on my own page again, YouTube page. Not that I care. It is nice, I guess. So let's see. So this one is a special one for Lucas. Lucas, you can go ahead and come in and vent. I only knew about it because you told me and I had to look it up. Oh, wait. Let's see. Admit. There's Snark. Hey, Snark, how's it going? Wait, why isn't my audio working? Hold on. What's going on? Did I mute myself? You guys can hear me, right? Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Oh, wait. I can't hear myself because... Never mind. I'm an idiot. I'm thinking I got my own feedback, but I don't. All right. Do you watch Cracked at all, Snark?
No, I don't.
Okay. I watch a little bit of it. It's not bad. Some of it's okay. Some of it's maybe a little bit too mainstream for me. But they've got some good writers and good video guys. But they got fired. There's a couple guys that made the videos for their YouTube website. What's funny is their last video, and I'll show it. Let me see if I could share my screen these days. Hold on. I'm not quite set up. I just kind of was getting things ready for Lucas so he could vent before James starts the show. Let's see. I want to see if I can start sharing my screen now. Let's see. Share screen. Can you see it? Oh, wait. Yeah, here we go. Oh, wait. Yep, good. Oh, wait. No, stop.
Getting flashing.
I know. Stop share. Okay, I always have problems. I may have to look at do the other way. Son of a gun.
I remember Cracked Magazine.
Yeah, they started with the magazine, and then they started doing videos on YouTube. So Lucas, do you want to say something?
Hello. Yeah, I'm just like, there was a long period of time where I watched a lot of Cracked and like got to know a lot of their actors through like their Twitters and their videos and like their own personal stuff, and like you can kind of see their personality come through in a lot of their videos because like they write to cater to their personalities, to like show like the best of themselves kind of, and like they emphasize a lot of their best qualities, and then they poke fun at a lot of like their worst qualities to like make everyone empathize with them, and they're really good at that. Especially like Daniel O'Brien, like he was by far their most popular writer, editor, actor there, and like I just can't believe they fired them. Like, I mean, Dan O'Brien and Soren and Michael have spent over 10 years for that channel. Like a lot of them, that was their first job, and they've stuck with it, for this long. And they were really good at it, and they were the main reasons everyone was still even, subscribing to that channel. Because I mean, lately a lot of their videos, like if it wasn't for Some News, I don't think they'd have very many subscribers. But Some News with Cody Johnston, Cody went on there, and it's basically like a more centrist, toned down Jimmy Dore. He gets a lot of his news from Jimmy Dore and Kyle Kalinske. I can tell just from like the way he talks in his videos and like some of the sources he cites. And it was nice because he was reaching an audience that like Jimmy Dore and Kyle weren't. And so there's all these people who aren't into independent and lefty news media who were getting their news from Cracked, specifically because Cody had that Some News show. And like everyone really loved it because Cody was reporting a lot of this stuff, the way it should have been reported on. And he was like talking about how stories about Antifa really should be covered, and like why we don't talk about guns in this country. Like after the after the Las Vegas massacre, like he talked about that. And he did a lot of funny things in his news segments, like a lot, like he had like Petty Joke Junction, where like if there was somebody in politics, like Jared Kushner, or someone, just anyone like Ajit Pai, like basically that he would do a bunch of like really petty like ad hominem jokes, and like that kind of thing, like just like attacking him in a funny like physical way or something like that. And that would just be like the way of like making everyone have a brief laugh, and then he would get back into like the reason that person is like an evil, insidious, bastard. And I feel like they were playing a role with that show and with a lot of their other comedy shows like After Hours, that was, and they provide a lot of relief to people who like have stressful lives and can go on YouTube and find relief in comedy. And like the familiar faces, they've been watching for the last 10 years do that same show, and they've watched them grow as characters and as people over the years. Like Michael's. Oh, sorry.
One second. So I love After Hours, but I don't know like their names. Like their names. Can you?
Yeah.
Of the 4 After Hours crew, because there's 1 gal and 3 guys, which one of them are fired?
All 4.
All 4?
Yeah.
What?
Well,
those guys are awesome.
I should say that 3, but one of them left because he saw it coming. Like Michael Swaim, he left because he saw it coming, and he said that like he did his own, like he started his own private media company now with his buds, like with a couple of friends from Cracked Video, called Small Beans, and they're on Patreon. And basically, like what he said in his video was that Cracked came under new management a few months ago, and that they've been slowly downsizing it behind the scenes, and they've been cutting the number of videos, they've been cutting people's like hours that they're, and like they've been getting rid of a lot of the creative opportunities. And Swaim, like in his new video where he explains like why he decided to leave, he talks about how if you were watching After Hours all these years, you notice in a couple of the videos that all of a sudden he starts to put on a lot of weight, just out of the blue. And he said that was because of his alcoholism, and he's actually been a closet alcoholic for like the last like 7 or 10 years. And as the creative opportunities at Cracked started to dwindle, he started to drink more and more and put on more and more weight. And then as this year went on, it got really bad. And so he was thinking about quitting just based on that, because he wanted to spend more time being creative on his own. And he thought that maybe if he were to start his own small media company with his buds, he would have more time to be creative and do his own thing. But then he saw, like he said, there were warning signs that they were going to fire everybody, that he kind of started to pick up on. And so he quit back in October. And then whenever today happened and he saw everybody else got fired, he said, yeah, I'm not going back. Like, there's no chance.
Well, I hope they do better, because they were one of those shows where I just enjoyed watching. I mean, I wouldn't say I like agreed with all their stuff, but I mean, it was entertainment, and some of it was, I'd say the truth. But they kind of do a lot of Trump bashing, but so is everyone else.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show my screen real quick. You're muted, Snark. Do you want to say something?
While you're showing your screen, I don't mean it as an insult. I need to do some work behind me.
Okay.
So I'm gonna turn my screen off for a little bit.
Sure, no problem. Let's see. All right, let's see if this works again. And let's hope that it's not. Okay, good. It's stable. No, it's not. All right. Yes. Nope. Nope. Hold on. All right, I'm gonna do the YouTube thing.
All
Give
right.
me a second. God, I gotta fix this main computer. Just move it to another computer. What is going on? So what I wanted to show people is there's only one article. The only reason I know about it was because you just like DM'd me on Twitter and you're like, I need a vent. Someone do a show. All right, so switch to YouTube, but keep it muted, and I should be able to share it Okay. Crud. Can't quite hide that, can I? That's why I need the black screen. All right, that's fine. Who cares? All right. So you can see that the latest video that they did was the Muppets did 9/11. I'm wondering if maybe that was too close to the truth. I think one of them tweeted that. If you look at any type of search engine, like I'm just using Google again because they're the most popular. There's only one article that talks about it, and it's One Angry Gamer, and it's a blog that came up in the search results, and this is it. And so this is like 4:30 in the morning by Billy D. So they silently let go a lot of staff, various writers and senior staff, and it was kind of confirmed by various writers and executive director David Wong. And you could see a couple of anyways, all of this is in the description box below. But they had some images on here. Can't quite see it, of the Twitter. Maybe this one has it. This is Bryce Riley. So looks like they're all looking for jobs and whatnot. But man, that's what do you think? Do you think it's because of the stuff that they're doing? Because I feel like the stuff that they're doing was good.
Yeah, I think that I don't know what the heck. Like Michael Swaim, like his thing was that he thought it was because of the people who have, like, you know, he said it's been bought and sold several times since he was working there. You know, bought and like or sold to like bigger companies, and like every time a bigger company would come there, they would do their own changes and more bureaucracy would get added. And he thinks that the people who are running it are so far removed from the creative aspect of it and like the people on the ground and the people who are making the content, and they're so worried about the bottom line and the money and the corporation side of things that they're downsizing, and they're like, we're just going to get rid of we're just going to trim all the old bits and keep all the new people. And so all of their best people that everyone loves and everyone has warmed up to over the years and everyone wants to follow, they're all leaving. And now Cracked, you know, they're having a subscriber, you know, they probably lost several 100,000 subscribers today, you know.
Ooh, I should look up.
I mean, because people, if you look at the comments of that Muppet, because I watched that, and that was where I found out that this was happening. I looked at the comments to see what everyone was saying, and the comments, someone posted like a link to all their different Twitters to people who've been fired, and there's like hundreds of comments down there, like everyone telling Crack they better get their shit together or else they're gonna leave, you know, and like hire them all back now, and like why would you fire them all right before Christmas? Like how, you know, cruel is that? Yeah, it's terrible.
Do you know who the latest corporation, I guess, that bought out Cracked magazine? I guess it would be their publisher, right?
Yeah, let me look it up and see.
It'd be interesting if they were like a mainstream. Actually, I don't think.
Well, I guess it's crack.com is different from the magazine now.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the magazine anymore.
So I'm looking at their Social Blade, and I'll switch it to the. So you can see that on some issues here. All right, good. They didn't lose subscribers. Subscribers have been going lower since Friday, beginning of December. They're in the thousands of subscribers, and they're getting lower. And their video views from millions are now like in the 600, 700,000. But Yeah, it's not like they're unsubscribing. At least that has picked up. But of course, a lot of people don't really know that it's going on.
Except for those few
Superman.
people that have been there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it just happened today. So.
Yeah. But wow. I wonder what they're gonna do what they're gonna do with the YouTube. Just start like water down videos or not do videos at all.
I don't know. That's what it was. Everyone was really sad, to see that Muppet video was like the last Dan O'Brien video because like he was like the boy of Cracked. Like he was like that. Like that was like he was like the face of it probably. Like he's like the most recognizable, most loved actor, writer for Cracked. And like he narrated that video, and so everyone's like, it's fitting that he narrated the last video before they all left, but at the same time they're like, of course that crap shit post had to be his last video. and even he made a joke on Twitter, and he was like, this is my last video, and he was like, how weird is that? And he's like, this was an honor it was an honor to work there, but I'm sad because that was my life and now it's gone.
Yeah.
And like none of them were expecting this, except for Swaim. And so that was like what kind of made me pissed off whenever I was looking at all their Twitters, because like they all kind of like woke up this morning and were like, oh, I don't work there anymore. And so like as soon as today happened, Daniel tweets out, I don't work for Cracked anymore. And then Cody was like, oh shit, same. And then everyone else was like looking for work.
It's like a total Scrooge moment too. It's like a couple of weeks before Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Hey, and these are like news people or I wouldn't say news people, media people that weren't involved in any scandals too.
Yeah.
Right before the holidays is a big time to lay off.
Yeah, dude.
So you want to get them out of there before you have to pay Christmas bonus.
Of course, that's probably what it is too. It's probably for a bonus for whatever investor group owns their magazine.
I'm thinking this is a little bit more dubious.
Really?
The Democrats and the Republicans lately.
Yeah.
And in the past, many of the conservative channels, conservative networks, have actually gone out and bought non-conservative radio stations just to shut them down. They'll take a popular radio station, will be number one in its market, and bang, turn it over to either gospel or news reporting, something that gets almost no ratings.
Yeah.
So I don't see this as being any different than that. If they were being an embarrassment to political people, both the Democrats and the Republicans have large PACs that would want that shut down. So that's another possibility. Is they were up on the sale block. Who put the highest bid in?
EW Scripps is their owner. It says.
Don't know. I don't know the person.
Well, it's a company. It's a media. It's a media conglomerate. They own a bunch of newspapers and a bunch of news stations and syndicates in all the 50 states. So basically, they're one of the less major monopolies.
Yeah, I'm trying to look into them a little bit more. Let's see. Oh, crap. Its motto is give light and the people will find their own way. Shit, that's a lot like Candlelight Media, but they're bastards. Let's see.
Reminds me of the Washington Post, democracy dies in darkness. Like that's probably what they're saying, like we're going to help smother the light out. Give people light and they'll find their own way. So we're going to be the ones holding the flashlight.
Yeah. Great American Country. They bought television arm of McGraw-Hill for $212 million in 2011. Let's see. Not much good stuff here. Okay. So Demand Media had it, then they sold it to Scripps. It even acquired pop service Stitcher from Deezer. Did I ever listen to Stitcher Radio? Have you?
I think I downloaded the app and then never used it and deleted it.
All right. Let's see. Newspapers. Yeah, they do kind of look kind of conservative, Snork. So you got that right on the money. At least they're definitely big south. Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee, Texas. They got some places in California. Let's see.
It's a publicly traded company, so if the shareholders don't like something, they can change it too.
Shares have been going down has been going up.
Well, they haven't had the magazine for years now. I think they got rid of the magazine back in 2005 or 6 and went solely to online, like to just they have their website and the YouTube channel, and that's about it now. Well, and the podcast. They have a podcast too.
Okay. Is it crack.com? Is that what they're?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they save a lot of money by hiring freelance writers, and so they can get articles on the cheap and make a lot of money that way. Because every single time they get a view, they get the ad revenue from that, from all the different ads on the web page, and they get millions, if not billions, of views every month. So they make a ton of money through paying freelance writers, crap money, and so I think that might be one of the reasons they're firing people too, is because all these actors. That have been there for years are probably making a lot more than the freelance writers they could be taking advantage of.
Yeah, boy. And they don't seem to have any news on it on their site.
Well, they've had a lot of lefty stuff before. There's a lot of atheists that have worked and written for Cracked, and they've written a lot of funny lefty. Atheist pieces. Like there was one of my favorites, 6 biblical stories where the moral of the story was "fuck you, I'm God," and it was a very funny article. And it basically shared 6 Bible stories where God was really treated people really terribly for no frickin' reason, and just how it was super hypocritical of people to quote those chapters and ignore those parts. But they've posted ton of stuff like that that's critical of both parties. They've posted tons of stuff that criticizes the Democrats and the Republicans. One of their articles that I found really early on when I first found their website was 6 ways that Ronald Reagan ruined this country. And I used that for years to show people why Ronald Reagan was terrible. So they've had a lot of good writing on their website. It's just that their website has so many articles. It's hard for me to go on there because I feel like it's like a pit, and I could spend all my time on there.
Yeah, they do have a lot of stuff. I'm showing people now. Yeah, the big one was almost 2.2 million. Wires don't cut heads off. 5 movie deaths that can't happen. But yeah, I was just saying they don't have news that people were laid off on their own site. Usually, most companies have that.
Yeah, I guess they don't want to advertise that yet. Probably trying to figure out how they're going to spin it to everybody.
Oh yeah, PR is working overtime to try to make it look good, or just try to hide it off at first.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, son of a gun. Hey, it'd be nice if they go on our little dinky show and talk about it. Do you think they have a severance at all?
Probably not. It's only been 10 years, so I doubt they'd qualify for too many benefits if Cracked had any. And they started, Cracked started out as a fairly small magazine, so I don't think that they had a lot of benefits whenever they all started working there. They just kind of worked there because it, you know, was minimal, paid the bills. It was something fun that they wanted to do. You know, it probably paid just well enough to live in the area, you know, Southern California that they live in and work in, and then that's probably it. Like if you go back and you watch Michael Swaim's YouTube post on it, it's a bit hard for me, or it was a bit hard
Twitter
for me.
post?
Well, he put a video on YouTube,
Okay.
or on Patreon, but used YouTube to post it. And it's him playing a video game while talking about why he left, and that was just so he wouldn't get all depressed while talking about it. Because he was talking about in the video, he talks about his depression and like how his alcoholism influenced his depression, and like how whenever he joined Cracked, it started out really small and it grew slowly over the years, and it had a lot of potential to be a huge. And he thought it was going to turn into like the next National Lampoon, like SNL type thing, you know. And that's what he wanted to be a part of that. And then whenever he saw them get acquired by this new EW Scripts company, he saw the opposite happening, and he saw it getting smaller and smaller, and the creative opportunities were disappearing. And that's why he was and that's when his depression really hit and his alcoholism hit. And he talked about the cycle of like, when you get into alcohol at first, it makes you feel like you're better, you know, and you're not as depressed, but in reality, it's making you more depressed, and then it further pushes you into the cycle. And so, yeah, he did like a 13-minute long video about it.
Okay, I'll
he
check
kind of
that
explained
out.
it.
Let's see. Oh man. Well, they're not doing too bad as far as like Patreons, unless it's just small bean. Do they each have their own Patreons, or
Not yet. The one that Swaim has, Small Beans, that's him and a few other people that used to work for Cracked, but they're not the main, you know, big actors. Like they're not the big name people you've ever heard of.
Okay.
And a lot of them are people that didn't work for Cracked too. Like he's got a few friends that didn't work there, just into entertainment, and that he's going to do a podcast with, and they're going to have weekly stuff on Patreon that's free, but you can give if you want to support them.
I see.
But I'm hoping that Cody and Daniel and all these people start Patreons, because I know the people from the Cracked audience will support them. Like I know that Cody Johnston tweeted out, you know, he put like asterisks and then Googles and then quotes Patreon and then, you know, quotes asterisks. And like, you know, it was basically like making a joke about now that he doesn't have a job at Cracked, he's going to make a Patreon. And I looked on Patreon, he didn't actually make one, but like all the Twitter comments were telling him to do it. And like there was like hundreds, if not thousands of people on there commenting saying, we will support you. We want to hear some news. Like we want you to continue doing your thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that they listen.
That'd be interesting. Like who do you think is there any kind of media company that would pick them up? Do you think any would? I mean, I don't think Central would have them. Are there any YouTube channels that might probably pick them up, you think? Or
Funny or Die might, College Humor might,
okay.
Or Adam Ruins Everything might. Cody was kind of like Jon Stewart, because he wasn't. I would like, if I had to compare him, I wouldn't say he's as much like Jimmy Dore as he was like Jon Stewart, except for the fact that the people who are writing his stuff were getting paid as much as he was, whereas Jon Stewart is making millions of dollars while having unpaid interns write his shit.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things that bugs me about Jon Stewart. It's like Jon Stewart was great on The Daily Show, but he was super hypocritical.
Yeah. It makes me wonder about that argument he had with one of the guys.
Bill O'Reilly?
No. One of the guys on his crew. I was like something just happened to him. He's gone, and all of a sudden you like kind of hear like videos outside of it. I'm trying to find, and they're like saying, "Yeah, everything's cool. I can't remember his name. Let's see. Let me see if I can remember. Sorry, I'm looking. You can keep talking. Is Jon Stewart making a comeback? I heard he was doing stuff like on HBO. Hello, you there, Lucas?
Oh yeah, I didn't realize I was still muted. Yeah, he's been on Colbert's show a few times, but I know that he's a multi-millionaire, so he doesn't actually need to, work at all. Like he's got more than enough money to live on for at least a few years, of like really nice living. But I'm sure that he could get a job doing whatever he wanted after his Daily Show run. And, the Daily Show now, ever since he left, has just been absolute garbage. Like it's been partisan, Democratic wing propaganda. Basically, it's basically like MSNBC, except not as funny.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a while.
It's like I liked Trevor Noah at first, like because at first he was a Bernie supporter at first, and like he wasn't like outright, but like you could there was like a vibe in his show where he would be like saying, Trump says he's for all the like he would like say that Trump's for all these good, like he would show videos of Trump saying he's for all these good policies, and then he'd be like, Bernie Sanders, is that you? And he would say a lot of jokes like that, and he would like hint that Bernie was like the guy he wanted to win. And then as soon as Bernie lost, it was kind of like TYT's shift, except worse, because TYT was like, oh well, now we have to support Hillary, whereas Trevor Noah was like, I support Hillary, I support Hillary, I support Hillary, and it was like shove it down.
One second. So on the YouTube, it's the guy on the left. I'm showing a picture.
Here, let me go back on the YouTube. Oh, okay.
So him and Jon Stewart had a beef. And all of a sudden he's gone. And the next thing you know, they do like a show saying, yeah, everything between me and John, what happened, it's cool. And that was it. That's the last thing you ever see or hear of that guy. But
the guy on the far left?
Yeah, the guy on the far left. You could look it up if you can figure out the guy's name, and you can see videos and kind of hear the whole story. And I think that might go with your the Jon Stewart was pretty hypocritical as far as how he treats his cast and all that stuff. So
yeah, and he was a fracking sellout as soon as that happened. Like with Obama and Hillary, like he sold out to the fracking companies really early on, and didn't do shit against them when he had the opportunity.
Oh man, that sucks because I really like Jon Stewart.
I did too, but he was a disappointment at the same time. He had all this potential, and he did do a really great thing. Like Jon Stewart is the reason we got that 9/11 first responders bill passed the first time.
Mm-hmm. I thought that actually got passed. I thought they kept shutting that down.
Well, the first, it got passed the first time, and then the second time he came back on to Trevor Noah's show to be like, hey, they're not going to renew it. Everyone needs to renew it. And so they went through and they had a big fight and to renew it, and they almost won, and then they didn't.
Oh, yeah, it sucks.
Yep. But that was when Obama was president, so that's Obama's fault too, because Obama could have railed them on that in the media, and he chose not to.
Yeah. All right, so we're just talking about cracked stuff and Jon Stewart stuff, I guess now. If anyone wants to join, James will be starting soon. He usually starts it by now. I don't know where he's at. So we'll just keep this going now till James tweets something or his show starts. Man, so are there any shows that are on cable or like a night show, like a
late night show?
Yeah, like a late night show that's just not like touting the mainstream stuff?
I would say the closest thing to that currently would probably be Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah. Did you? Oh my gosh! Did you see his thing with Roy Moore?
Nuh-uh.
Well, okay, so you know like what's going on with Roy Moore, right? Like he's
Yep.
probably going to win. Doug Jones is down in the polls, so he sent the guy who would always go to the Trump rallies and like be like overly supportive of Trump, and like they and you know and like they would he would act like a real Trump supporter, so they put him in the background, and then whenever they had the cameras up on Trump, he'd be in the back like standing up, waving his shirt around, like yeah, Trump. And so they had him go to a Roy Moore thing, and like they were interviewing him with other Roy Moore fans, and he was basically getting them to admit to their own hypocrisy. And you know, he'd be like, "We support anyone as long as they're not a Democrat," you know, and he'd be like, "Child molester or not," and everyone like, "Yeah, as long as they're not a Democrat," because they thought he was actually with them. And then he went into the Roy Moore thing, and there was somebody else there who wasn't a plant that was calling out Roy Moore for his bullshit and his pedophilia and, you know, all this stuff. And so this guy got up to defend Roy Moore in like a way that pointed out the hypocrisy, you know, and like in a dumb way to make himself look stupid. And so he ended up getting thrown out too. But as he was getting thrown out, he was like, "I don't think you sexually assaulted those kids. I think they banned you from the mall all those years ago just to set you up for right now." You know, and he was like saying all this kind of stuff, and Roy, and they zoomed in on Roy Moore's face as he was being escorted out, and it was so fucking funny.
I gotta watch that then.
Then Roy Moore found out that guy was a plant from Jimmy Kimmel's show, and so he tweeted at Jimmy Kimmel. He's like, if you want to mock our Christian values, come down here and do it, you know, to my face like a man or whatever. And so, you know, Jimmy Kimmel tweeted back, you know, he's like, if you want to talk, he's like, I would come down there, but you need to learn some Christian values first. And like, it was great. And then he went on his show and talked about how he was raised Catholic. And he was like, I don't know what denomination of Christian you were raised as, but whenever I was raised Christian, they taught us in church that it's not okay to touch little kids. and he's like, I don't even know if you know what this, but my middle name is, you know, Christian. Like, and it's funny because in reality, Jimmy Kimmel's middle name really is Christian. And so it was really, just really funny. And then he's like, and if you're challenging, and if he's like, if you're challenging me to a fight, I'll accept it. And he said, like, I will meet you. I will come down to Alabama just to fight you. And all of the proceeds from the tickets we sell will go to the charity chosen by whoever wins. And he said, the charity that I choose is the legal defense fund for all of your accusers.
Oh man, that's just good stuff.
Oh yeah, it was great. Like, I was just, oh my gosh, it was amazing.
I'm gonna have to watch that. I wonder if that's online.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. Like, they're both the videos. Like, the first one is like his response to it, and like him, you know, and him saying, you know, like, yeah, I'll fight you. And then the other one was showing the guy who went down to the rallies and was like getting all these people to like admit they'd support a child molester. It was pretty funny, except for the part about them admitting it, because that was just depressing.
Yeah. I wonder what the. Yeah, I don't know what to do. What to think anymore. I mean, you've got Republicans, you got Trump supporters that may or may not be Republicans, may or may not support Trump, that most likely don't support pedophilia, all the stuff that's going on, but now they're supporting this guy. I'm confused. I think the voters are confused.
I think there's a lot of tribalism going on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
And I think that all the people who are so tribalist that they can't look at a candidate based on their personal like values and policies, like those are the people that should be purged, in my opinion. Like, those are the people who are holding our country back, you know, from maintaining several thousand years of evolution. Like they're the people that are still living like with the mindset of like apes. Like, they just cannot move on with the rest of the country, you know. Like, it drives me insane, like how tribalist people are. And it's on both sides. Like, even when I went to that State of American Democracy conference in Oberlin, there were tons of super duper highly educated people out there that were talking about Russia and Trump, and like they were so tribalistic, and like the Democrats are our saviors and blah 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 blah. And it just drove me insane. Like, I was like going crazy there. Like, and and the way they talked about young people and like millennials, and like we need to get the young peoples, but let's not ask them what they think. Like, it was like, how can we best appeal to young people without having to ask them how to appeal to them? You know,
Yeah.
like they were kept, like the one guy up there was from England and he's part of their Green Party there, but he was saying that Bernie Sanders, like, we need to find someone other than Bernie Sanders and Jeremy Corbyn to lead the movements because they're too old. And it's like, I don't know if you noticed, but they're both the most popular politicians in their countries. They're already leading those movements. It's like, you don't need to find somebody else because they can do it. Like, they already are. And like, all we need to do is just let them, like, you know, like by talking about it, we're taking away their power. Mm-hmm. And like, while I do think we need to find other people and not just Bernie, like, that doesn't mean that Bernie can't be a leader. You know, he was the guy who, you know, quote, woke everybody, you know, like, he's the guy who got my generation into politics and got everyone to start learning and caring about the issues. I mean, for all his flaws and for all of the mistakes he's made, you know, he does still, like, we all do still owe him a huge debt of gratitude, you know, because if you go back and you watch his campaign videos and you go back and you try to relive and think about how you felt during the 2016 primaries, yeah, and you watch those ads, it just makes you cry, you know, a lot of that stuff was so inspiring, yeah, and so, you know, it like the stuff like what we could have had, you know, like if the DNC hadn't fucked it all up. I mean, it makes me want to cry, honestly. Like, it's just so fucking depressing. But then I channel all of that depression into anger and rage, and then I channel that into energy, and that, you know, makes me ready to go in and change this fucked up system that gave us Trump in the first place, you know?
Yeah, I felt like the epitome of the whole Bernie movement was, you know, when the bird showed up, you know, Bernie Sanders. And at that point, if you weren't for Bernie, I don't see how you can be for Bernie after that. I mean, that's like, people have been waiting for someone like him for a long time in that campaign. And then it just felt like people were interested in politics of, all right, we finally got someone who we want because that person will fight for us. And then, yeah, all the shit that went down afterwards. And then all the stuff that he did afterwards, which I think gets more people depressed, Lucas, than anything else. Like, yeah, the DNC did stuff, and that sucked. That's mostly like anger, not really depression. It's depression when someone on your side just kind of like does a betrayal or just kind of quits, and it's like, all right, you don't have like an ally anymore, type of thing.
Yeah, and to an extent, I felt that way a lot. Like, and especially whenever I see Bernie go out and defend them, or, you know, go out and vote for this Russia stuff. But at the same time, you know, I don't know if you saw the article. It was shared by Kyle Kalinske and Mike Figueredo. Mm-hmm. But Bernie's currently working on changing his foreign policy views. Like, he's like doing research and trying to find out what his constituency wants, what the younger generation wants in their foreign policy. And they said that right now, like, one of his main focuses is changing his policy views to support what the American people want. That way, whenever he runs in 2020, he'll have an updated platform that represents the people more. And to me, that gives me hope, because if he does that and he combines those moves with the People's Party, then, like, that's it. Like, he has my vote, and like, there's nothing, like, I just won't be able to contain myself. But the thing is, if he does only that and then stays within the Democratic Party and runs, I don't think I could vote for him.
Yeah. But how do you gauge what the people really want? Because I feel like if you talk to current military people, a lot of politicians, mainstream media, they are going to push the nationalistic America, the imperialistic America. Then you talk to progressives and libertarians, and they're like, you know, we don't want this imperialism. You've got a lot of ex-military that probably agree, we don't want wars. We just want people, you know, we don't want to interfere anymore with outside.
Well, and that's one of the reasons he's doing. He made it a priority to do all the research though too. Is like he wants to get like the different demographics views. Like right now, there was just a poll or a study done that found the majority of active duty military personnel do not want foreign interventions in Africa and the Middle East. Like they want us to get out, and that's a huge thing that no politician has mentioned since that poll came out, and like. That should be front page news. That's like saying the military doesn't want to be where it is. They're there, they're seeing what's going on, and they want to come home. Like they don't feel that it's a cause worth fighting for. Just like the troops in Vietnam, like they knew it wasn't a cause worth fighting for when they were there, and they wanted to come home, and yet they had to stay there anyway. And like no one's talking about that. And so if Bernie was to go out there and talk about that and hammer the Republicans repeatedly, saying the best way to support our troops is to bring them home. The best way to support
hammer not just the Republicans, but the Democrats, because they're also pushing for it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, hammer everyone, like just hammer it in general, but the reason I said Republicans is I was thinking of the debate whenever he let Ted Cruz get away with lying so many times in that last CNN debate. Like I didn't watch the debate because I didn't know it was going to go on. I don't really watch cable that much, but Kyle Kalinske covered part of it, and Mike Figueredo covered part of it on his show. And man, like CNN always cuts Bernie off right before he can correct Ted Cruz, and they let Ted Cruz get away with so much fucking bullshit. And I just want Bernie to be like, okay, fuck it, you are a liar, you're a liar, and fuck you CNN, because you're not giving me a chance to rebut Ted Cruz every single time. Like I just want him to break that barrier one time by swearing and catch everyone's attention and be like, fuck this shit.
Yeah. That's not in Bernie's DNA though. One thing I noticed about him, he doesn't lose his control. Yeah. His temper.
I think I wish he did, because like I think that especially if you're someone like him, and you do lose your shit, that you're gonna have like 6 good opportunities. Like if you're someone like him who's really good at keeping your cool, you're going to have like 6 really, really good opportunities to use a swear word for maximum effect in your lifetime. And I feel like right now is one of those opportunities, if he was to just go out in public on the news and say, fuck, we are living in an oligarchy, and, and just explain all this shit in like 10 minutes, like everyone would go on and everyone would listen and everyone would go like freaking vote for him. Like that's all he'd have to do is just swear for once in his life. Like he says hell a lot and he says damn, and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, like really swear, get colorful language in there and attract everyone's attention. Like go out and, speak like Jimmy Dore for 10 minutes and just bring everyone to you, bring all the attention to you, and then tell everyone how they're being screwed and why it's insidious and what they can do about it. And then they'll change it,
and he might get away with censorship, because if he says fuck, it'd actually be fuck. Fuck.
Yeah.
No, I can't do an impression like him, but you know what I mean.
We gotta get the fucking 1% taxed.
Yeah. Oh, the tax stuff. We're segueing off of Cracked into other stuff. But that's okay. I need to change the title. I thought James would be starting now. I guess 15 minutes. Anyways, what do you think about the new tax thing? I guess that's what's on everyone's mind.
Well, it's ridiculous. Like I think a lot of people are going to die, but I think they're going to pass it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it's going to pass the House right before they gut net neutrality. That way we have two huge things to worry about at once, and everyone's going to be divided and split, and we're not going to have enough people calling against either one, because all people who have the time and energy to call, are going to choose a battle. Like they're all I think it's going to. They're going to do them both right before they leave for Christmas, whenever nobody wants to think about politics, whenever everyone's watching Home Alone, and whenever everyone's out, Christmas shopping and decorating their Christmas trees and, hanging out with their family, and whenever all the college students are taking their final exams, that's when they're going to pass all this shit.
Yeah. Because no one wants to go out protesting during the holidays, New Year's.
Yeah, it's also super cold too, so no one wants to go out in the cold either. And that was, if you go back and listen to the news and the podcasts that was going on back during Occupy Wall Street, the first winter, the Occupy Wall Street went through, back in 2011, it got really, really small for a while. There was only a few tents on Wall Street for the entire winter because everyone went home and no one wanted to be out there in the cold. And then in the spring, everyone came back. And I think that they're going to take advantage of that, and they're going to take advantage of how tired and lethargic everyone is in the wintertime to just gut everything. And I think that right now we're, currently viewing the final days of the United States as it currently stands. And as soon as they gut net neutrality and pass this tax bill, the United States is going to fall apart. I think that it's going to, I think that we're not going to be a United States anymore. I think that there's going to be a collaboration of separate groups of states that try to work together to stay alive.
I could see a lot of stuff happening. My biggest fear is that all the blame is going to go on Trump, and it's more of the Republicans than just Trump. And then it opens the way for Hillary in 2020. And people don't get it. They're like, all right, Trump's out of here. We can get a new tax plan. And it could be just as bad, but it'll people support it because, hey, look, it's Hillary. And it's not Trump. And then we basically end up having the same tax plan.
Well, I can tell you that she wants to run in 2020, but she's not going to, because if she does, she would not get anywhere. They're going to run polls and they're going to find how low she's polling. And they're going to find that she's polling better right before 2020 than she is currently. They're going to be like, hey, since 2016, you've gone up, 6% in the polls or whatever. It'll probably still be negative, but then she'll go out and speak and she'll go down to negative 20 or negative, 50 or something like that. Or, she'll be super duper low. And then she's going to disappear forever, hopefully.
No, I think what's going to happen, well, her problem was her polling would never go up. But I think what they'll do is the DNC will plant horrible primary candidates against her. I mean, there won't be Bernie Sanders running. They'll have, just think of the worst Democrats ever. And it's just kind of like the Republican Party, you know how they do it, where they just have horrible candidates after horrible candidates, right? You just have to choose from one of 15 horrible candidates. That's what it's going to be like with the DNC. They'll have Hillary Clinton, and then
Lincoln Chafee.
worse than anyone you could imagine. Imagine Hillary's VP pick,
George Soros.
Who?
George Soros.
Oh yeah, or George Soros.
That's what they're going to run against her. That way, everyone votes for her.
Yeah. So they'll be like, "Yeah, Hillary Clinton. We don't want any of those guys." So I have a feeling. I mean, they're smart. I mean, they're smart enough, I would say, especially if they keep their.
I mean, she lost. I don't think so. She lost to Trump, so I don't think we could say she's smart.
I think. I think they were just I think they had a lapse of judgment. I think they're smart. I think they're just overconfident that they're just going to win in landslide against Trump because of Trumpisms, whatever. But they didn't really gauge anything. They didn't learn anything from the DNC primary at all.
I think of it as a team event. It's not whether she was smart. It's whether the team that she was operating with was.
Yeah.
Right? She might have been calling shots to override that. And her when she overrode might have been the times that they were bad. I've seen that so many times in a large company. The person that signs all the paychecks gets infuriated and starts pulling weight when other people start making decisions that force them to do stupid things.
Yeah. They get rid of the they keep on the yes men, but not the people who say no, and they have reasons to say no.
They tend to keep the people they go to lunch with.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the people that they need to take the information from.
Yeah. Well, that's why they said her campaign was nothing but sycophants and people who are yes men and yes women.
So, but I can't remember the guy's name. An analyst that I was listening to today, and he was talking about, well, the two things that she would do if she was going to run, she would start by doing an apology tour in the states that she lost the worst. Is that happening? Where she has to put the blame to show that she could win again if she could just take care of the problems that she had.
The problem was the states didn't vote for her.
Yeah, well,
it's their fault.
That's not what sycophants would tell her. There was another one that fit with what she was doing. Also, her consultants are still being paid by the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Or at least they were just recently. So, it does look an awful lot like, yes, they are preparing for her to run again. It's still her turn.
They just invested too much money in her and the Clinton Foundation. They can't just let it lie.
At this point, can we separate her from the Democratic Party? She basically owns it.
Yeah.
It's a corporation. She's making the decisions.
Yeah.
She's probably the most powerful non-politician out there running in politics, if that makes sense, right? She's not a politician.
Well, she's not an elected politician.
Yeah, elected politician. Yeah. She hasn't been since what, 2012? Wait, 2000. She ran 2014, I think, and then she went on for 2 years in Obama's administration, right? So I don't think she's been elected since she was elected senator of New York. She hasn't. It's been a couple years, but she has a lot of power. It seems still.
That was actually something I was thinking about today. Was whenever she was Secretary of State, and we went through the whole Benghazi thing. This Russia thing is the exact equivalent of the Benghazi thing. Like Russia is to the Russiagate is to Trump what Benghazi was to Hillary Clinton. Like it's the exact same thing, and the Democrats are doing the exact same thing to themselves that the Republicans just did to themselves.
I could see that. One big drama piece by whoever controls both parties, maybe that too.
Yeah, well, I mean, as far as the hearings, clogging up the politics with nothing but hearings, and having the private investigators and all that, and, the committees and all that, and drawing it out over the course of years. That's what makes this, the Democratic equivalent of Benghazi, in my opinion. It's just, there's so many similarities that it's hard to get away from it. And I actually wasn't the one who thought of that. It was, or at least I wasn't the one who came out with that totally on my own. It was it popped in my head whenever I heard Dave Collum talking to James Howard Kunstler about the way in which they're handling the Russiagate thing and the way the Democrats are frothing in the mouth. And he talked about how the Republicans had done this before. And it made me think, when was their equivalent? And it really was Benghazi. She basically got the Democratic Party to pull a Benghazi on Trump. And it's basically like a giant revenge thing from the Democrats to the Republicans saying, you clogged up our stuff for a couple of years with all this nonsense hearings over this bullshit. We're going to do the exact same thing to you.
Yeah, man. I don't know what to say anymore.
Except the difference this time is that Republicans actually control government, whereas the Democrats didn't whenever the Benghazi things were going on.
Yeah, well, I think even when Democrats were the majority, they still didn't control the government. I think Republicans always did.
Yeah.
Republicans could just say, hey, I'm going to do this if you do this, and the Democrats fold, right? It's just how Jimmy Dore states it, if he still says it anymore. You got strong Republicans but weak Democrats, something similar to that. I forgot how he says it.
Yeah, you got strong Republicans that never ever compromise, and weak Democrats that will always compromise.
Yeah. So something got me thinking. Was it last night's show? There's some other show. Someone was talking about the DNC or the people who the Commission for Presidential Debates is a nonprofit corporation, and I think that are owned by a bunch of political entities and corporations. They were sued, I think, in 2016 in October, and I think Joe Stein was part of it, to lose their nonprofit status because of, they still have that structure in place where not non-Democratic or Republican parties can really get on to the presidential debates. And what people don't know is the whole commission for presidential debates, they're both like Democratic Party and the Republican Party kind of joined together to get it on. Oh, there's Aeolus. Awesome. Admit. Hey, Aeolus, how's it going? We can't hear you very well.
Yeah, I figured.
Oh, there you go.
It's my phone, so we'll just have to deal with it.
No problem. So, did you want to say anything?
Oh, what are you guys talking about right now?
We jumped from Cracked to Jon Stewart late night TV shows to politicians to right now we're talking about the congressional presidential debates, the nonprofit corporation that hosts the debates, and that there was a suit against them in October 2016, including Joe Stein, that because they couldn't get any third-party candidates or independents to be in those debates. But I think the Supreme Court overruled it, saying that, or some entity overruled it, saying that as long as they're not specifically supporting a candidate or a group of candidates within one party, their nonprofit tax position, whatever, is still intact. So kind of got me thinking, maybe Candlelight Media will just be a nonprofit corporation, and we can do the same thing that DNC and Republicans do. The only problem with that is we're just doing the same thing they do to defeat them, and then we end up being the worst. End up becoming them. So it's like, don't take the same strategy that they're taking, even though it works. That sucks. I hate that. Anyways, feel free to chime in with whatever you want.
Well, wasn't a whole lot going on. I mean, I'm kind of in the midst of studying for an E&M exam. My final one this week. A week early, too. So I'm kind of miffed about that. But in terms of political coverage, I've been trying to stay away from most of it. Not just because I've been too busy studying, but also because, honestly, it's gotten to the point that it's a bit maddening. I will say, though, that I did get a sort of a dark chuckle from seeing Sam Seder go out the window.
What happened to him?
Apparently, he got fired from MSNBC.
He was on MSNBC?
You remember he started doing all those
He was a
programs?
contributor to Chris Hayes.
Apparently, he was a paid contributor.
Yeah.
And after Mike Cernovich made that guy rot, who I might add, made that guy rot in hell. He apparently found some very interesting tweets from Sam Seder in which he sarcastically proclaimed that he would that if he was going to have his daughter raped, he would at least like to have it her raped by somebody with some artistic veneer like Roman
Well, what I saw was MSNBC fired Sam Seder because Sam Seder made rude jokes about Mike Cernovich, and that was the reason they gave.
That was the reason.
And so it was just because Snowflake Cernovich, reported him, and then after that he did the same thing to Kyle Kalinske. Kyle Kalinske said, that you're a stupid snowflake.
Oh, okay. Here's what. So, who people who don't know, filmmaker Roman Polanski raped a 13-year-old girl. Well, drugged and raped. Yeah. Okay. And then, so Sam.
This isn't even consensual. This is just like full on Bill Cosby for pedophiles.
Yeah. So Sam Seder tweeted, "Don't care, Polanski, but I hope if my daughter is ever raped, it is by an older, truly talented man with a great sense of mise en scene." That's what got Sam Seder fired. That is just a horrible joke.
Well, it's. I mean, look, I've always been of the statement of if it can be construed that you're being serious, it's probably not a joke that you should tell. And even if it, because the worst thing that has come from the recent era and the battle of Gamergate was this. Well, I'm actually kind of glad that it did come up because of it. It's the concept of, it's just a joke of people using its satire defense as a reflexive use to say horrible shit and then immediately backtrack from it. It's sort of like, I didn't mean it. It's totally humor. Can't you see? No, in the Sam's defense, and I don't want to give him too much fucking credit, it was apparently there was a series of tweets later that immediately followed that, which apparently gives this more context that this was actual sarcasm. Unfortunately, there's just one problem with this. If you're going to use sarcasm about a very sensitive subject, don't do it on a fucking medium that only lets you post 140 characters at a fucking time.
Isn't it 280 now? Didn't they up it or double it?
They might. This is back in the 2010 era that he made this. So this is like old school Twitter.
Oh, okay.
This is old school. There ain't no such thing as 180 characters. Ain't nobody got enough time to process that much information.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody got enough time to process that many characters.
All right. So looks like James started his show 14 minutes ago. He didn't tweet or DM me. So switch over to James's show. And once he's done with his monologue, everyone will join. All right. Thanks for joining. We'll see you there.
Yeah.